Aloha and welcome, Heart Surfers. This is the new podcast talking about the opportunity to discuss healing from the inside out. My name is Sharon. I am known as the Heart Lady, and this is Dan the Man.
Aloha, Sharon. How you doing today?
I'm doing very, very well and feeling very, very kind.
That's awesome, because I wanted to talk a little bit about today as far as how we are welcoming our first podcast speaker, Judy. And since we are all about promoting healing and heart surfers, I thought we would bring in Judy's word, kind-hearted, in the way we approach our podcast today together, to have this opportunity to share with one another how we are promoting aloha in kindness. And aloha means awareness, love, optimism, humor, action, the action of kindness.
That's your cue. Let us introduce Judy. Judy, tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome. We are so very excited to meet you.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for asking me. This is honor and fun. I'm already having so much fun. So I guess the shorter story about me, I'm a social worker by trade, and I'm very honored to be part of an amazing, it's a profession and it's all about people. People are awesome sauce, and I've learned so much from the people I've worked with along the way. It's really changed me and helped me to become a better person. And more currently, a little over a year ago, I left my school job. I was at a high school that I loved to pursue my passion projects. The universe strongly yelled at me and said, "Girl, it's time to go." And I was like, "No, no, no." And the universe keeps coming back and says, "Yes, yes, yes."
Wow.
And I have an organization called Kindness Champions, where we celebrate everybody's awesome by being kind to themselves and others. And it's intertwined with health information. I think what you're doing is giving people some information and tools and strategies and a few initiatives. I brought some up. This is, we do a postcard project, and these are sent out to people in the phone book.
Yes.
And they go out every week. Here's one going to a nonprofit. Otherwise, I would not show the name. I have some smaller flyers, and businesses put them in their orders.
Thank you for being
you and bringing your awesome to the world. I want people to know they have a place and purpose. Everybody does.
Absolutely.
Regardless of your circumstance.
Thank you for bringing your awesome sauce.
Awesome sauce. And then we put "we love you" on the back because we want people to know they're loved.
Nice.
And then I have some smaller "Just You Matter" sticky notes, and myself and friends put them up all over the place. I also have some people who ask for postcards to send out themselves, or the smaller flyers or sticky notes. So I send them to share kindness and goodness with others. And we do daily social media posting of positive stories, because we can change our brains. There's just this thing called neuroplasticity, and neurons that fire together, wire together. And we also embed some information. And I began in October and November doing kindness clinics. It's a 1-hour clinic, and it combines neuroplasticity, how you can change your brain, with the science of kindness, and then some action steps from there that you can fit into your life to be happier and healthier and help others in the world. Make it simple.
Judy, I love how you started out with kindness for ourselves first. And you began that, and that really supports what we talk about here, the inside out, starting with ourselves first. And Sharon, when she talks about inside out, she focuses, the heart, which is inside of us, and then the heart being more than just the organ that pumps blood, the heart that is the heart of kindness and love that you are focusing on in your whole endeavor. You talked about initially, when you were at your place of work as school, which I'm somewhat familiar with as well, being a colleague of yours there, that you had some initial sort of resistance to leaving.
Yeah, well, yes, because typically in a school system, people work X amount of years to get a pension in New York State.
Mhm.
And there's a certain, money is important. It has a place and a purpose. And I was not even close to
Okay,
those numbers of years
so
to
that's
get,
a risk on your part.
yes. And it was a fall thing at my school. We have to put in the paperwork right before Christmas time. There's deadlines. And once you put in the paperwork, you can't take it back. You can't say, oh, I changed my mind. Once you go, you go.
So
And
once you make that choice, and I like to interject that word choice. Once you make that choice, that's it.
that's it. Yeah, you
No
can't.
turning back, you're saying.
Nope. Nope, you can't.
And so would
Because
you say that was an act of kindness to Judy when you made that choice to let go of, your sense of security that you felt initially?
I felt like I needed to, I don't know if it was act of kindness. I get why you use that word. I felt like it was my calling and I needed to trust
Well,
that
you said passion.
it was passion project and calling. It was
Yeah.
I think I can sense from the both of you when the universe is screaming at you,
I can
no matter
connect.
where I went, it would not go away. And there was other spirit signs around me, like very strong. It wasn't subtle, it was strong.
Yeah.
And it was like, girl, and I called up the state to say how much pension, like, can I exist? And I found out, well, I have health insurance. I called up a week before. And on the day of the winter solstice, which is where you put out your intentions to the
Yes,
future,
yes.
that morning, the other social worker sent a text that put out your intentions for the future to myself and the other two school psychologists. And I told my family very last minute, this is something I did not tell.
You didn't plan. Mm-hmm.
I did not, it was not planned. It was very, and then I was like, all right, I'm going to do my leap of faith. And I've never looked back. I'm so glad I did it.
We are
So
so glad you did it. And I love the fact of your doing the work that your nonprofit is doing because, of course, I love the heart. I love the sign that
Great.
it looks like a sun behind and the rays are
Yes.
pointing out the acts of kindness. So random acts of kindness. Thank you so much, Judy, for your work. Thank
You're
you
welcome.
for
And I just,
taking that opportunity to spread kindness and listening to your heart, listening to that voice, your angels, your guides, listening to the universe. Thank you for just that lesson alone. Thank you, Judy.
oh my gosh, you just made me so smiley face in my heart. And I need to correct, I'm not a nonprofit.
Oh, okay. I thought that you said that you were showing the card and you said you didn't mind showing the company because it was a nonprofit.
Well, I'm sending the card to a nonprofit.
Oh, to a nonprofit.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
And the other initiative I forgot to mention, because it's about other people, you spurred me. Thank you, Sharon, for that. Is I interview people and I do spotlight stories, and they're people and organizations all around the world shining the light on others and doing those kindnesses for others. And I write their stories. It becomes a partnership. I do this interview and then the draft I send back to them because I want to make sure they can edit it and it's accurate in their voice. So you also spur me to say, I do these stories on the coolest people doing the coolest things to help others. There's so much good in this world. It's
you
hard to
mean
see
focusing
sometimes.
on the positive?
Yes.
So I wanted to ask you because you were talking about neuroplasticity, I believe.
Hmm.
Can you just talk about what that means, neuroplasticity, and how your clinics address that relating to kindness?
Well, we're even addressing it today with what we're doing. So neuroplasticity is this, you can change how your brain, you can change how you process feelings, you can change your thinking patterns. It used to be our brains were fixed and they were just set up a certain way. And then researchers were like, no, you can change things together. and what they found. And I'll just give you the one of the greatest ways to show the power of the brain. There's a researcher, I can't remember his name.
Bruce
I don't want to
Lipton.
say it. And he did this short.
Doctor, isn't that Dr. Bruce Lipton?
No, this is a well, I follow Dr. Norman Doidge.
Oh, okay.
He does the books, The Brain's Way of Healing and the Body That Heals Itself.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
So anyway, one of the researchers, he went and did YouTube. There's a hour-long, I'm going to say video about everything. This one researcher had 5 people or a group of people one day play the same. They did brain scans, and they played the same piano keys every day.
Yes, I read that one.
Right.
Yes.
And then at the end of the week, their brain had changed. That part is memory. They're creating neuroplasticity. Their brains are, changing. It's repetition. It's doing the same thing, all that. Then he had 5, I say 5, or a group of people just pretend in their heads that they played the piano keys. That's it. They studied them, and their brains had that same memory. So there are actions we can take in our lives by the words we choose. Even if we don't buy into it yet, we can fake it till we believe it. Our brains are going to pick it up.
I'm sorry, you believe fake it till you make it? You're a proponent of that?
You can, because even if you don't believe it, if you keep saying something long enough every day, your brain's going to pick it up. Think
So
about
you say practice. Would you say practice?
Practice and repetition. Think about now when you go to tie your shoes. Do you have to think about it? No.
No.
Because you've done it so long, your brain has that muscle memory.
I remember the 2 rabbit ears, and you tuck one under, and
You can do that with words. You can do it with actions. If you smile for 2 minutes every day,
that's right.
Even if you do not feel like smiling, your brain's going to release, I think it's neuropeptides, I could be inaccurate, and you're going to feel happier and healthier. If you practice gratitude daily, right? Thinking it, writing it down, putting it somewhere in your life, you are going to become happier. And when you become happier, you become healthier. So there's actions you can take, words you can choose, that even if you don't believe them in the beginning, after a while, your brain's going to pick them up. Yeah. And that's going to be your memory. And that's where you're going to go from.
Right, because
so
thoughts
you
behavior.
If you have some initial resistance, and we all do, to change. Many of us have initial resistance to change. Listen to your own story, how you had some initial reluctance and resistance to it because, you knew the safe and familiar of what you were in, and that's a risk to give it up. And so you did it. And so it's an engagement, isn't it? It's a choice to take that risk, even if you don't necessarily know where the next step is going to lead you. You know, though, that it's going to promote your kind-hearted self first, and then you expand that towards others. Yes,
it's also tapping into that courage muscle and those leaps of
risk.
faith. It's also tapping into that and trusting, and it's hard for some people. I do a lot of trauma work. I'm a therapist. I have a private practice, and I do a lot of work with people with extensive trauma. I work a lot with addictions and getting people to trust and having that courage, and then it's tapping into this feels good. Yeah. Right? You feel good, right? And it's listening to that heart and listening to that spirit, yet it's staying the course when things get bumpy. Because when things get bumpy, our human tendency is go back, it's not working, versus sometimes it needs to be bumpy before it smooths out.
Right, because that's where you learn the lessons. That's part of the journey. So Judy, could you give us a scenario how kindness really made a significant change to maybe about one of your clients or in your life? If you could share with us a little bit more about why kindness matters.
Oh, absolutely. I have one for me, and I have a couple of clients, and I have a friend. I've learned for myself when I was going through times where I did not feel my Judy C. Swanson best, right? I was feeling down, a little sad, a little grumpy. I started to do kindness for others around me. And it releases, right? It releases all those happy hormones in your brain. It's that helper's high. and I saw what it would do for me. One of my friends calls it her selfish medicine. When she's not feeling great, she goes and does something for somebody else.
Yeah.
And then she feels better, yet it's better for them. It's better for the world. It's just a
Yeah,
really
it's
healthy
something
thing.
about when you do something for someone, you feel the gratification. It's something about doing something for someone,
Mhm.
serving someone else, that it makes you. It's that serotonin, that dopamine, it just
Right. All those things, those hormones just go, it's like a pinball machine of happy. And
yeah,
it's like ding, 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 ding.
yeah.
And then you start to repeat it. You think about a repetition of behaviors. Then you're like, I'm feeling this way. I'll do something kind. And I'm going to go back when you ask about a client. I have a client that I've had for many years, worked with an amazing person who has had a horrific history of trauma, and trusting a therapist and developing that close relationship has been tough, yet I've
Yeah.
stayed the course, and I am kind. I've learned, I bring people gifts, I bring people flowers, I sometimes bake.
Mhm.
uh just doing kindness doesn't, I return somebody's grocery cart, it doesn't have to cost money, I
That's
smile
right.
at people. Yet for her, I've stayed the course. And what helped her learn to trust me is, regardless of her behaviors, and sometimes her behaviors were protective and
Yeah.
reactionary, I was still kind to her.
Mm.
And no matter what happened, I was still kind to her and I was still respectful. And now that we worked through a lot of things on her end, she's trusting the work and trusting the growth. And I'm seeing her change. Yet sometimes for somebody, if they don't, it's not about how they react. Yet I just knew this is who I needed to be as a person, because I really like being that person and love being that person who's kind.
Yeah.
And I knew her reactions weren't about me, they were about her wounds.
Mm. Absolutely. And I'm sure that you being showing the kindness, always showing up as kindness, right? Showing up as kindness, it becomes infectious. I'm sure without you knowing how many random acts of kindness she has done
Right.
within
Yeah.
her time. Yeah, working with you. Dan, you
So
had some more
it's funny
questions?
that you asked that word, or you used the word random. I'm not a big fan of the word random,
Mhm.
because I believe everything is done with purpose, and we may not always know what that purpose is. And
Right.
that's the trust. You talked about trust, Judy, and how important trust is, and trusting self to be able to let go of things that maybe we're apprehensive about releasing or letting go of, because the change can be scary. And you talked about the person that you've worked with for a number of years, and how you made a choice to trust yourself in the way that you worked with this client, and you didn't get into it as far as taking it personally. You knew that your acts of kindness were the way to go to promote change from this person that you've been working with.
I did, yet I also knew the way that my action is really comes back to me. It's who I want to be in this world, and it's who I've just learned from not always, I'm not always been respectful and acted in the kind way I wanted to be in the past. And through my personal growth, which is always ugly and difficult and painful, yet through my own growth in terms of falling in love with myself
Mm.
and being happier with me, I've just learned that this is feels so much better in the world. So I did it because I have to honor who I am.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Honoring ourselves, I call that our divinity. We're honoring our own divinity within
Divinity, that's a
ourselves.
big word.
We
Yes.
are divine. We are divine beings.
And so, also then when I say random, because random is right when you choose to do something without actually having a conscious decision. And
Mhm.
so it really becomes part of who you are. And that's how I hear you.
Yes.
It's part of who you are.
Yes.
This is how it's unconscious, meaning that you subconsciously is part of you, right?
Well,
Yes.
I believe it's intentional.
Yeah.
That intentional doesn't always mean consciously intentional. It's also the intention within ourselves of who we are, our genuine selves, that we are intentionally kind. And the story that I can connect with right now is my granddaughter Maeve. She was just born like a few days ago, and I already know that she is radiating kindness and love and compassion without her conscious awareness of it, because it is in her. It is in who she is to be that.
Yes. Go ahead, Judy.
Oh, thank you. And I think the other part though is I love that it's when I see though people along the way, and we've all been around a few years, that what has happened to people who don't radiate that, right? Like what happened to them? What are their wounds? What are their hurts?
Yeah.
That people in the world have not been kind to them, and to have that compassion,
Yeah.
because nobody wakes up one day and says, I think it's a great day, I'm going to be without a house or a place to live
Yeah.
on the side of road asking for food.
Yeah.
And I feel like we need to stretch the kindness into compassion
Absolutely.
for others too. And like, she's beautiful, and I'm not saying anything, I just think sometimes when people, as we get older, we've got to remember they were all born with this way, right? They were all
That's what I was
born with
gonna say.
that.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And so it's not like we don't already have it within us.
Yeah.
We are simply invited to connect with that which is already there. And
Yeah. And that's the work that we do, right, Dan? That's the work that we do.
absolutely
Because we know that we're born with it. And actually, what one of the things that I do with my clients is when they're really feeling that depression and having that hard time, is there a baby in your life? Is there a baby that you can just touch and look? Because that passion, that kindness, that love radiates from infants. But as you know, as we grow older and we get these learned behaviors, we get programmed to all different types. We get types of things that happen in our lives, right, Judy? And the traumas that happen, they kind of dim that light. And so our job is to help to brighten that and bring that kindness, using our kindness and compassion,
Yes.
so that they are able to heal from the what? Inside.
From the heart.
Right, Dan. So I know, Dan, you had some other questions that you wanted to talk to Judy about.
Judy, I was just curious, have you ever considered the difference between the word kind and nice?
Kind of nice.
The difference between the two, or the similarities?
Yeah, I mean, I think a little bit. To me, sometimes I don't get too stuck on the words. It's like recently there's been some articles when somebody dies, right? How we should express our sympathy, and this is just my personal take. To me, if somebody's trying to say something nice, it's not about the words. And so I think nice is a wonderful thing too. I just don't get too stuck on certain language things.
Sure, I get that. I guess what I wanted to touch upon is, like, most of the heart surfers that I work with have been programmed to be nice, which is agreeable or pleasant. And more often than not, that's for the needs of others, not for themselves. And so I prefer the word kind, because kind to me says it starts with being kind to who I am. And from that place of kindness to myself and trusting myself and my willingness to be vulnerable, I'll throw that word out there now, because I know you chose to be vulnerable when you left your workplace, and then you put yourself out there to the world in this whole new kind of endeavor and calling, as you say. It's about loving ourselves in that place of being kind to ourselves, instead of the programmed nice. We're taught to be nice to others, and often to the neglect of ourselves. We tend to put the others then before ourselves and leave ourselves out of the whole process. And I see that you're having some agreeing to disagree in your body language. So please
I
share.
I think you can be nice to yourself and still stand up for yourself. If that's the word you choose, and nice is kind, is you can be nice and wonderful to yourself and nice to others. It doesn't mean you still stand
Mm,
up for yourself. I think there's separate things. So I think even though you're nice, and I get what you're saying, some people, that the people pleasing or the fawning, depending upon their family history,
right.
plays a role, yet it doesn't mean they can't still be nice. You can be nice and stand and express your viewpoints in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I was looking up nice, and it referenced more being agreeable and satisfactory about the particular thing. And kind is has, of course, a couple of meanings, because we know the word kind meaning goods and kinds and characteristics. But it says that I just lost it. But kind um, is a disposition. It's showing.
Oh, gotcha. See,
It's
action.
yes,
Very
showing,
Action.
right? Yes,
action.
it's showing, exhibiting, manifesting, being. I like the word being, right?
Yes.
Being kind. So that was interesting. The difference between nice and kind. I know that our last podcast, we were talking about the difference between thankful and grateful.
Grateful. Yes.
Yes. And so these are play of words, but I agree with you, Judy. It's not so much the semantics with the words, right?
Mhm.
It's really the act of, right?
Yes.
And the integrity within
Yes.
how it shows up. Yeah. So Dan, did you have another question for our wonderful shining guest, Judy?
You know, Judy, you talk about passion, okay, and how powerful passion is. And you also talked about your own journey and your own sort of struggles with yourself and
Mhm.
falling in love with Judy.
Yes.
How does one fall in love with themselves?
I'll just share what happened for me, because it's different for everybody. And it's just in terms of, I wasn't happy. My inner critic for many years was very loud, and I present confident, I present all these things, yet inside that wasn't how I felt about myself. I wasn't in love, and I was really, really, really self-critical, exceptionally. And I think some things happened together, and I just knew I wanted to change. I knew it was time. There was no one event. I just didn't want to be thinking how I was anymore. I wanted to feel authentically better. You like that word, authentically, dance. Woo-hoo.
Yes.
And I just started to take
I
action.
do like that word.
I know you do. And I started to read some books. I developed my own personal statement of strength that I said all the time, because I wasn't believing it. This is a part of our neuroplasticity. My brain wasn't believing it yet. Yet I started to say my statement of strength all the time. When I was happy, when I was sad, I started to combine it with actions.
Would you share with us your statement of strength?
Absolutely. I am brilliant, bright, brave, and beautiful.
Oh,
Mine is I am a jewel.
that is beautiful. I love that. I love the terminology statement of strength.
Yes,
And
SOS.
yes, SOS. Oh, Dan loves that. SOS. I like that. I am going to definitely use that as well. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing. This is how we all contribute. So with the state, I think you were heading on to where I wanted to lead, really giving some tips for our viewers and our listeners in reference to how they can use the statement of strength. And
Mhm.
in particular, I think that your story is inspiring, because there are so many people who are not happy with where they are. particularly in their choice of career or jobs or work or whatever they're doing, and they are getting the calling and they don't know how to move out and out of it being stuck where they are because they're thinking of some of the things that you decided to release, right? To let go
Yes.
and not hold on those attachments. If I don't have, I won't be able to get my
Money.
pension and or what about the health insurance and all of
Dan was
that,
gonna
right?
help me.
And so people were like, I can't do it because I need that. But you
Yes.
stepped out on faith, you took that leap. How can you help someone else who may be in that position to use the SOS
Uh,
to make that leap?
I think it's taking a step is a step. And it doesn't have to be giant steps. You think about life as being foundational. Houses are built on foundations. Our skills are built on foundations. So it's taking steps. I think it's twofold. I think if you're not happy with who you are and you have a loud inner critic, and sometimes that loud inner critic will be showcasing as critical of others. Because if you're critical of others, you're critical of yourself. Your words are saying it. It's saying start with some if words that you want to embody for yourself. It's sometimes asking people for input that you trust around you. One of the toughest questions when I ask people I work with is tell me something wonderful about you.
Yeah.
And they can't.
Yes, yes, amazing.
Right, they can't because it's uncomfortable too. I think
Yeah.
we get confused about that inner love and confidence versus being very egotistical, and they can't. So I say, listen to things people have told you,
Yeah.
write them down. I'm a big believer. I have some people who I say get a glass jar and write down a positive to your day. Write down wonderful things and start filling up that jar or in a book or on your cell phone.
Yeah.
That's my cell phone. I'm happy you exist. So much fun. And I say then when we're feeling sad or not as confident or something, go read it and read through those things because you're going to feel better. I think for people who have a calling, it's taking a step. And what's my action today? Maybe I'm going to do some research about it. Maybe I'm going to take a class. I took some classes because I run a private practice, which is very different from the organization I'm building now. So I went and took free classes, cheap classes, online classes. I took some others and businesses I admired for me. So I think it's starting to practice. And it's amazing to me, like in a year, what you can do. Right. And so it's taking steps towards that because maybe you can't give up this income yet. And I get that. Yet, how can you get it into your life in a way that there's a balance or you feel like you're moving forward? That the best way to get unstuck is to start going. And sometimes you have to go back. We live in the snow. I don't know if you're used to snow sharing that.
Oh, I grew up in New York City.
Oh, you did. All right. So sometimes the way to get a car unstuck is to go back.
That's right.
You got to go back. And sometimes you got to go back, and that's okay. And say, thank you for being back. And then you got to go out a little bit.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think it's little steps count and they have great value and meaning. We underestimate the power of small actions because they can build and build.
Yeah, I like what you said because I think that too often we think that we have to make this giant leap, and it does begin with a step. And of course, all of us are coaches, so we are definitely going to advocate and promote that if you are feeling so stuck that you don't know how to make that first step, we invite you to definitely give us a call and reach out to someone. I would say if we could even muster up a smile. And so
smile means a whole lot. I had a smile yesterday. I don't recommend traveling on the Sunday after a holiday.
Okay.
Anyways, we're so full of people and there was all kinds of energy. And I just recall one of the experiences I had yesterday was with a truck driver, and he and I both rolled down our windows and we just looked at each other and we just smiled and we're like, yeah, we accept this condition and the situation that we're in, and we're doing it in a way that allows us to still have joy and still be at peace with ourselves, because we can't control that highway and what's going on there. We do have the ability, though, to choose how we want to feel. And it's just that exchange of smile and kindness with each other. It just made my day in a way that I'm celebrating it now as I share it with you.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you did share that. I thought you was going to say you rolled down the window and gave each other the finger. I think the smile, that's the New Yorker in me. But I'm glad you gave the smile, and I think that is a wonderful suggestion, because if there's nothing you could do, there's nothing you could do but smile and bring in that happiness and that calm and that peace within us. And so with that, I'd like to ask you, Judy, if you could share how people can get in contact with you. And we want to challenge people to be kind to each other. So tell us a little bit about how people can, and then give us your finishing sentence or suggestion.
This is fun. Well, the website is kindnesschampions.com. And I'm on social media, I'm on Twitter under Kindness Champs, and Instagram is Kindness Champions or Kindness Champs, and Facebook is Kindness Champions. People can email me if anybody ever wants some of these postcards to send out, or the flyers or the sticky notes. I send them to people for free. This isn't about charging. Oh, send me your address and I'll send you some. I will send you some. Email me your address. And I give them to people for free, because it's really, I just want people to have no barriers. I just want people to be able to send them and access them, and follow us. If you know anybody who you want to be interviewed for Kindness Champion Spotlight Story, send me their information and I'll put them on the list. And because I love showcasing people doing such beautiful, awesome things for each other. And there's so many people in this world. And I also want to change I really want to make it a change work in terms of framework, because if you look at the news, there's the negativity that comes with it, yet embedded in it, there's all these kind of actions out there, and you have to dig and search. Yet our brains are positive minded. So this moment, this interaction, we're all going to leave, the three of us, and all people who watch it, with this, you're going to feel a little better. You're going to be like, man, I feel I had a laugh, I had a chuckle. Oh, that was goofy what she said, whatever.
Absolutely.
Right? Or a little compassion. Yet to say, what can I do? Small actions in my life. And like Dan said, you're having one of those moments and you're with people and like, just start smiling, right? Or if you know people, some people are like, what? Yet smile. One of my neighbors told me she had somebody thank her in the grocery store, because my neighbor looks at people and smiles. And she said, thank you for being the only smile I saw today. And it's everything we can do, and we're going to feel better. It's like all win. So I just encourage people to be good to themselves, be kind to themselves, because you're working hard and you're trying hard, and that critical voice, get rid of it, get it out of there, and say, you know what, I tried and I learned. And you fall and then you get back up and you try again, and we're imperfectly perfect, and to love and be good to themselves. And this was so much fun.
Thank you so much, Judy. That was absolutely beautiful. I think that we are challenging, I know that we are challenging everyone. Just try it out for today. Try it out for the week. Smile. How about smiling more often? How about every time someone makes you upset, you just smile?
Yeah.
How about instead of giving the finger to that trucker, we just smile? How about that, Dan?
The way I look at it is from the inside out, of course, because when we choose to be kind to someone else, even if their behavior doesn't necessarily warrant it according to our programmed idea.
All right. All right. I don't like that word warrant. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Go on.
Whether we feel like initially that they have acted in a way that deserves our kindness, we choose to be kind for ourselves to be in a place of peace, and then that peace can extend towards others in ways that are not even imaginable. And we just give ourselves that permission to let go of whatever it is that we have been holding, whether it's anger or resentment or bitterness, to be able to be kind and generate that love and compassion that you've been talking about here today.
For
I'm hoping
everybody.
that, I'm hoping that everyone was able. We are taking this right after the Indigenous People Appreciation or Remembrance Day, as it is renamed from Thanksgiving, or also renamed as National Day of Mourning. I know the last time I spoke about that, I misspoke and called it another name that they call for Columbus Day.
Kind to yourself.
But I did think that during that that holiday, during that particular holiday, and during this holiday season, that we have so many opportunities to be kind to each other. So I wanted us to remember that just showing up, you were being kind to the host.
Yes. And I just want to add, there's a great quote. I think it's by is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always.
Oh, say that again, Judy. Say that again for us.
Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind always. And in that, you're being kind to yourself. You're being that peace. You're being kind to some of those people who are rough around the exteriors, yet things have happened that has happened. So it's always be kind.
Yeah, we don't know.
So there you have it, Judy, the kindness champion. Check her out on Kindness Champions and Kindness Champ. Thank you all so much. Be kind.
Thank you. How do they find you, Sharon?
You already know, The Heart Lady. Ask The Heart Lady on all of the different platforms. Just check out The Heart Lady. And Dan?
You can find me at Dan Mykins. And the way to remember Mykins is mykin and add an s.com at Radically Healing. That's what we're all about, radical in our approach to all of these topics that we're talking about, including kindness, and how kindness is such a powerful and radical energy of love and compassion for each other.
Radical. Rad man, rad.